darker and darker, and there's just no way right now for these drivers to know exactly what's going to happen.
These guys are going to have to be really, really careful and tiptoe around the track until it's either stuck.
And not even 10 minutes into this race, and I feel like we've got enough strategy going on for a whole event, but still a long, long way to go.
There's Yellowstone, there's Yosemite, but for racing fans and for Grid Life's Elkhart Classic, the destination is Road America, the National Park of Speed. Three wide in the front of the field here. Look at Emil Tab up the inside for the race lead as we head down to the first corner.
And these guys have no idea what they're coming into. Look at this field. They're 2 wide, 3 wide, a couple places slipping.
Side by side for the race lead, 54, 48 through 3 and 4, working lap number 60, 110 laps to go. Yusuf Ghali, power move to the bottom of the racetrack, making the short way work. They're going to touch down the hill.
This will be a great run for Fuller here.
Yeah, typically we'll ran off the track in the final quarter. That'll allow Fuller to get a massive.
Here he comes.
Does he have a look?
Oh, big block there by Sanfilippo. Into the grass goes Ben Fuller toward turn 1, and Sanfilippo hangs on. He's loose. No! And he crashes hard in the exit of turn number 2. Don't try him here, boys. They're going to do it. Gritsko backside. They touch. They're going to crash. Gritsko going to slam the attenuator hard into the wall, and Sarah Testa hits him as well. And big damage on these cars. That's huge.
Number 4, people are struggling for grip, going out of every single lane, even trying to make a run. It's getting really insane.
Powered by AWS for the Intercontinental GT Challenge, powered by Pirelli at the Indianapolis 8-hour. We are 7 hours and 18 minutes into this 8-hour event.
John Miller way deep on the brakes to the inside of turn number 1 and 2. The spin, the 3 car gets turned around in the front of the car.
James Houghton looking for a place to go, but he's got Austin Cobb to the inside. Bit of a gap behind. I think that's about 15 or 16 spot as they come out of turn 3. Big slide for this.
Getting a run. He's got it. Going to be a drag racing line. Final corner. Checkered flag waving. Here they come. At Virginia National Raceway. To the line. Thompson, Darling, door to door. Banging doors. Fender to fender. I can't believe what we just saw.
Outsider Racing League takes on Indianapolis in this 70-lap feature event on SimTV. Welcome to SimTV. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Connor Horn here tonight for 70 laps around one of the oldest racetracks in the country. Indianapolis may be known for the Indy 500 and maybe not for the Brickyard 400 quite so much anymore, but tonight it's ORL's event, 2.5 miles times 70 laps. So, Connor, we're getting into it tonight. We've got a pretty decent-sized field, about 25 or 26 drivers. Qualifying already mostly complete. Road Atlanta, Bryce Calusa was leading with provisional pole, but Jeff Wright jumps to the top. This is going to be an interesting one tonight. Every time we come to Indy, it always surprises me. But your thoughts on tonight and how this track is going to race?
Well, it's a bit of a wild card. With how the setup is, from what I've seen from practice laps that a lot of drivers have put down, it is loose on a short run. This back end, because of the downforce, I think that back end wants to kick out. You got to be really careful to not overcorrect into that outside. Well, we can see some big wrecks if drivers make that mistake. But we're going to see a lot of drafting down these straightaways. You're going to see people out of turns 2 and 4 really trying to set up for the long run down these straightaways to make a move into turns 3 or turn 1. You're going to see a lot of strategy on track, and I assume a lot of strategy in the.
So there is Jeremy Miller. He's coming out at turn number 4 right now, and he will not get his lap in by the end of qualifying. That is going to conclude our qualifying effort here. So as we head into the race event, this is a Dash for Cash event here tonight. And what that means, we got 5 drivers with green numbers on the sides of their car. Green numbers mean that you're eligible for an extra cash bonus if you win the race under green flag conditions. And we'll show you what those 5 drivers are here in just a moment as we head down to the racetrack here, Connor. We'll roll through our starting lineup in just a little while, but first some racetrack information. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, constructed in 1909 out of bricks. One little factoid that a lot of people don't know is that the rear view mirror was actually conceptualized while racing here. Indianapolis, Indiana has a population of 2.4 million people, and on Indy 500 Day, it feels like they're all packing the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 4 turns, 2.5 mile racetrack. And of course, it's very famous rectangular appearance. With these cars, with this downforce package, just a lift and maybe a touch on the brakes. The original design of the oval was supposed to be 3 to 5 miles long and be 150 feet wide. They had to downscale it to fit the property, but it remains one of the largest racetracks in America. So we'll head down to the racetrack here in just a moment, and we'll go through our starting lineup. But first, on the left-hand side of your screen, you're going to notice the drivers in green. Sam Devontier, David Mott, Steve Turner, the 48 of Jeff Wright, are all our Dash for Cash drivers. I think I'm missing one more that I can't remember off the top of my head. But I think it's the number 90, perhaps? Yes, it's the number 90 of Sturgill, but I don't think he's here. So those are your Dash for Cash competitors. Let's roll through the starting lineup here on the front row, Connor. Jeff Wright in the number 48 and Bryce Calusa in the number 20.
Jeff Wright trying to carry that momentum from his win last week at Chicagoland. On that second row, you got Alex Bell and the driver he's trying to chase down for that points lead, AJ Stravato.
In row number 3, Adam Cabot starts in 5th in the number 77. Brandon Bowers rolls off 6th in the number 31.
Halpern 7th, Angel Horonis 8th. Two drivers who had a lot of bad luck last week. Halpern's been having bad luck all season, trying to turn that one around. And on that 5th row, 9th and 10th, Brian Chambliss and Case Lacatos.
In row number 6, Sam Devontier in the number 99 and Zach Floyd in the number 42 Chevrolet.
Then on that 7th row, Eric Hutton and Bailey Turner. Turner has some momentum lately, trying to carry that over to the yard of bricks. And then 15th and 16th, row 8, Tim Downey Jr., another driver having a lot of bad luck, and alongside him, Clifton Cockle.
A couple more rows to roll through here in this field. Jonathan Hernandez in the number 1 starts in 17th. Austin Carpe in the number 5 starts 18th. Ben Laughter in 19th, the number 64. Caleb Weekly starts 20th in the number 10.
Row 11, Eddie Trejo. Trejo, the last driver to put down a time, then the first driver not to put down a time, Jeremy Miller. Miller looking for a way into the playoffs for this season. And then that final full row, row 12, Steve Turner, Matt Wagner. Then rounding out the field, David Mott Jr.
So as the field heads down into turn number 3 to get prepared for a start in a green flag here. Tonight's race is a little shorter than we've done in the past 70 laps. This race, if it goes green from start to finish, is about 58 minutes. And I predict that we will have a fairly long green flag run. Your thoughts here, Connor, on how green this race is going to go and the pace of this race. Will that create intensity at the beginning or the end?
It'll be really important for these drivers to navigate the restarts correctly. These restarts are going to be wild, especially with how single file this track can get. A lot of drivers are going to be fighting for that bottom line. You're going to see a lot of beating and banging, really a lot of side-by-side action on these restarts. If it's going to be a caution fest, it's because of the restarts, and it's going to be very important to get the track position early in a race as short as this.
Pace car pulls off 70 laps from Indianapolis for the Outsider Racing League. A Saturday night event here at Indy. Green flag flies, and we're racing. As the 48 pulls over to driver's right, the 20 car to driver's left to protect from Alex Bell as they thunder into turn number 1. Wright leads the way through the first corner.
Pretty orderly so far. Calusa protecting that bottom line. Stravato trying to get to the bottom in front of Bell, trying to get that third position, able to do so. Single foul for the top 3, and then a bit of 2x2 action for 4th, and then everyone else pretty orderly.
Rocketing down the back straightaway, lots of slipstream going to be in effect here tonight. The aerodynamics package, we haven't really mentioned it a lot in recent weeks, but tonight it's going to be a big factor. Running the big spoiler on these cars, and we're down on horsepower from what we have been in past years here, Connor. That's going to change the throttle response of these cars, and it's also going to change how they draft and how they follow each other in line. So I think you're going to want to pounce while your tires are good. As soon as they start to wear out, you're going to have big trouble with understeer. This is my prediction.
And especially later in the race, that draft is going to play a big part. You're going to see a lot of the leader or anyone who's leading a line of any sort start to weave down the backstretch and the front stretch. Something you see in the Indy cars that you wouldn't expect to see in these stock cars. But because of how these cars drive nowadays and how important that draft is, you're going to see a lot of them going back and forth, snaking down the back and the front.
Oh, the 33 of AJ Stravato had a big moment in the middle of turn number 2. Now Brandon Bowers is going to size him up as they head down the back straightaway, going to move to the left. Maybe a bump draft here from the 31. Just a slight touch pushes him forward, but we're all in line into turn number 3.
Yeah, how important it is to be in line. You don't want to be off that bottom line. Everyone around, pretty much all the top 10 on that bottom line. Then a battle in the back. And Bailey Turner trying to go under. He's actually going to go by the 42 of Zach Floyd there. Really single file, only 2 laps in already. Right
behind Casey Lacatus, his popular win in the Fuel Premier Series season finale last Tuesday. Runs in 12th right now. We heard him over the course of the week saying, I want to win a race in Outsider Racing League, and tonight could be the night. Runs in 12th right now after starting in 10th, going the wrong direction. Up the road, a battle for position happening. Alex Bell trying to cross up the 31 behind Bryce Calusa.
And that's how important it is to make a pass on that bottom work. Bowers got under Calusa. Calusa was able to pinch him down almost completely on the curb, really ruined the 31's momentum, but 31's able to stay in front of Bell for now, but that was huge for the 20. He was about to go way backwards. The 31 goes way up the track.
Yeah, into turn number 3, and you see him drift out. That rubbered in groove is going to be where everyone is aiming to be tonight. If you get slipped outside of that, you're going to struggle with front end grip, as the 31 will probably lose this position to the number 15 as they drag race down the front stretch. Look at Stravato right behind his teammate, going to go for the inside as they head down the front straightaway. And here he comes, side by side for the lead. Stravato goes through.
These guys are teammates right now, but they are battling for that points lead. Only 1 point after the abysmal race that AJ Stravato had last week. I believe he's only 1 point in front of that 48 machine. So these guys are right on each other. They're the two best drivers in the series right now, and they're showing it right now.
Pop out of line in the background, the 15 of Alex Bell. Here comes the 77 of Cabot. Elevator move top to bottom. 3 wide down the backstretch with Halpert on the outside. The 15 backs out to make him double file again. For the lead, Jeff Wright goes back by Stravato as they're side by side for the top spot.
Honestly, didn't know Cabot was in this race. That's a slick new paint scheme. You usually see the green machine, but he's got a bit of a black and a bit silver there. But these two teammates, once again, battling side by side. You see the 48 was able to not get a good enough run to get under Stravato. They're going to be dead even, side drafting off each other. It's going to let Kalusa and Bowers back into this.
For the top spot and for third, Camaro's leading the way. The first non-Camaro car is Zach Halperin's Toyota Camry as he follows the 20 car in. They single file back out again. Move over to the left. The 77 goes up the inside. Big move in the middle of turn number 2. He's got a contact. The 26 slides up the racetrack. Bell sideways, and they catch it somehow 3 wide as they head down the backstretch.
They'd early be doing that. That was a huge dive by the 77. He's racing for wins and nothing else, and he made that known, going for a big move there. I don't know how the 26 saved it, and even the 15 had a big slide at it too.
It's chaos right now through the middle of 3 and 4. Look at behind Zach Floyd, the 15 on the bottom, the 26 and the 29 tied in behind him. The 9 car of Brian Chambliss, Casey Lakatos is there. The 15, big moment out of turn 4. Here comes the 29, and the 26 is going to try to split them 3 wide.
And this is big for the top 5. What that did is split up 2 groups here. The top 5 are gone. Wright and Stravato. Stravato gets the lead back. Bowers, Kalusa, and Cabot all clear. About a second gap to the 6th place driver, Zach Floyd. If these drivers keep mixing it up too much for that 6th position, they might not be able to get back up to those guys.
It is hands-on, elbows out right now here at Indianapolis. 6 laps in, and they're racing hard. They know it's going to be difficult to get track position later, so they're going for it now. Bell back alongside the 42, side drafts him down the backstretch, something that we've seen increase in efficacy in recent builds here at iRacing. Meanwhile, for the lead, Stravato and Wright going back at it, and the 33 goes back through.
They're really swapping back and forth right now. I believe that's sort of by design, but I think they'd rather not be side by side through the corners. It's letting Bowers, who I don't believe is a teammate of theirs, getting back up into this. He's going to decide who he's going to go with. He's obviously going to go to the inside of the 33. I don't think he's going to go 3 wide. He's just going to push the 33 down to the turn 1.
No, it's too early. I don't think there's a reason to go 3 wide. He's going to push the 33 forward to try to advance that and now follow him through the middle of turn number 1. And he's almost clear of that 48 car. Not quite, though. Wright hangs on as the 33 tries to figure out which lane's going to go forward.
Hanging on that right rear is so important. It sucks that car around on the bottom. You see Stravato get really sideways out of turn 2. The 48 gets the run back. Bauer's going to follow him. That 33 is going to get to his left rear. A little bit of side draft back to him as the 31's going to hang in line.
Into turn number 3. The purple car on the bottom, the 48 up top. New paint for the 33 car this week. And it's looking pretty sharp out front. Lots of colors this week. Blue, purple, green, and red all in the front right now inside the top 5. 10% of this race is complete. When we get back to the line, you'd think they're racing for the checkers as they come across side by side. Inches between the nose of the 33 and the quarter panel of that 48.
That just shows how that side draft actually does work. You saw 33, he got very close to Jeff Wright's left rear. He was able to pull him back, get in front of him there. It's not as effective as it would be in real life, but it's definitely a start, and it definitely matters to do at a track like this.
Bailey Turner up the inside of the 26 of Halpern, but we're going to cut back to the top spot because we're not done shuffling here yet. The 33 going to stay slightly left, kind of trying to discourage the 48 from going by. Wright will stay in line this time, and they're going to play ball together. As that 6th place group and beyond, Zach Floyd, Alex Bell, Angelo Ronas, starting to get their ducks in a row and beginning to reel in those front runners. They were half a second quicker last time by.
You're going to see a lot of these guys really push up out of all these turns, really. It doesn't matter which turn it is. You got the wall right next to you. You got to be really careful. Lucas Stravato trying to break the draft, more so just protect that bottom line from the 48 here, as we see a lot of weaving going on early.
And the 42 is Zach Floyd trying to come down the racetrack to keep Alex Bell behind him. Bell took him all the way down to the wall and got alongside, but he has not been able to complete that pass. And it looks like the 42 will re-clear the 15. Angelo Ronas right behind, door slam shut on corner exit. Now they single file again for the straightaway.
Yeah, these two people right now, they're battling pretty hard. They lost a bit of time to the top 5 last time. Look at Cabot going for that 4th position now in the 28 Calusa. They're going to be able to get that done. Nothing to fight with in that second lane. If you don't have your left sides under that white line in the turns, you're really not going to have a good time.
So I'm kind of curious to keep an eye on the lap times here from the tire wear. Tire wear is always a big discussion here at Indianapolis. 51.934 That's about a second and a half off of the best times we've seen today. What do we think about fuel run here, Connor? Probably maybe 25, 30 laps or so?
I think about around that. I don't think it's possible to do a one-stop unless by some miracle that happens. I think about 23 to 24 is when you'd want to set it up in like 3 even stints, but we might see drivers go a bit longer than that depending on how the wear evens out.
Alex Bell slides back between the 29 and 42. Rona says no thank you. They'll move to the left and get overlap on the 15 by the time they head into turn 3. Speaking of overlap, here comes Cabot. He has been charging through the field. Started in 5th, but I feel like he dropped back a little bit because I didn't remember seeing him towards the front, but that new livery again, he's been flying under the radar.
But the 42 hit the wall, lost a lot of momentum, and let Hronis around the outside of him for that 6th position. That's going to get Bell a big run to the bottom. They're going to be all swarming the 42 here. The Halpern's going to push him by.
Yeah, big push there from the 26. He's a little bit of damage on the left side. And I think that might have been from contact with the 24 car of Bailey Turner, who is now right there in that White Claw sponsor car. Look at Halpern rolling the outside groove, carrying some momentum there, real tight at the exit of the corner.
Driver's getting real sideways on the exit of these corners. Floyd had another big moment there. It seems really hard to pass on the inside, which is kind of something I was surprised about. The 15 got pinched hard by Halpern. Bell couldn't make it work. Now 24's got to run on, got to go back to his inside.
Turner's got a slight bit of overlap on the 15. He's going to take advantage of it. The 2 Sim Motorsports cars nose to tail right now. Licata's just pushed out of the groove. Or Bell, rather. Licata's following. In the background, Steve Turner in that number 46 is a Dash for Cash competitor. Again, the green numbers on the ticker and on the side of the cars to note those eligible for that extra cash bonus. And notably, our 2nd place driver, Jeff Wright, is here tonight, but he is not running the green numbers. And to my knowledge, if you don't run the green numbers, you're not eligible for that prize. Is that still the case, Connor?
I believe so. I'd have to check again. But maybe that's his stamped number. Maybe that's a stamped number on the car. Maybe his non-custom number. Paint scheme has green numbers, but I'm not sure. I don't know how they're going to rule that, but he's definitely the main contender for the money regardless right now.
Down the back straightaway now, 12 laps in, and it's been, I don't want to say calm, but we haven't really seen a whole lot of contact yet. Eric Hutton in the 88 making a return to ORL up the inside of Brian Chambliss in the number 9 Chevrolet. Got the Chick-fil-A colors on board. Been slow progress. The only pass that he's completed is the one you're watching him finish right now.
Yeah, he's able to. It's really important. If you get the positioning on a driver, it's way easier to make that pass happen on the inside. If you just stick the nose in at the last second, you're not going to make that inside pass work. You got to work on it. It almost takes a complete lap to make that pass complete. And it's really difficult to do right now. A lot of drivers struggling with getting the track position.
Behind them, Eric Hutton. Or actually, that's Jonathan Hernandez now on the inside of Brian Chambliss. Hutton is through. Chambliss a little tight out of turn number 2. Up the road, Bryce Calusa and Bowers trading spots. That's for 4th. And Calusa's through.
Calusa's got a bit of right front damage. Seems to not be affecting him that much, but it might be something to look at. The 31 had a big moment out of 2, and Calusa had a big enough run to pounce. And I'm noticing that second line in the background compared to these top 5, they haven't been really gaining as much as I thought. Been pretty even between the 2 lines right now, so see if Hronis leading that pack and get them back up there maybe a little bit. But those top 5 are looking pretty good.
Across the line to complete lap number 13, the 77. Where is he going? He's weaving all over the place as a distraction, and he is coming that time through. He was the fastest driver inside the top 5, so Adam Cabot is ready to play today. Watching the 2 Chevrolets out front take swipes at each other. Look at Jeff Wright get that left front tire all the way down there on that concrete-clad curbing. And that stuff is kind of slick. I'm not really sure that you want to get all the way down there, Connor. I think you're better off kind of just dipping the left sides between that white line and that curbing. I'm not sure driving on it's a great strategy.
Yeah, if you get your left sides on it way too much, you're going to go around. But it does help the car grip up when your car gets a bit too tight. If you're really pushing tight out of these corners or through the corners, through the center, for example, you could use that a little bit maybe to just get your car to rotate, at least on iRacing. It's definitely a situation where you might be able to want to do that.
Bit of a tank slapper for the 42, kind of ran that quarter panel into the wall. Look at the front 3 chasing each other down the straightaways. The 77, left, right again. Right took a look at the leader, was not able to get a run to take it. Brian Chambliss continuing to drop down the order. There's Sam Devontier, Dash for Cash competitor, gaining a spot. There's Tim Downey Jr. in the 25. Started 15th, and he has gone effectively nowhere. Well, this is the frustration of a track like Indianapolis. Very heavily track position based, Connor. It's going to be a long night for the 25 unless he plays a pit strategy of sorts.
Yeah, that's where we're talking about where lap 23 is kind of where you want to split it up evenly. We might see drivers even come out down in the next 2 or 3 laps with how important track position is. When your tires wear, you're going to have a really good chance of keeping that track position and not really falling down the order. So I don't think the 5 laps is really going to make much of a difference. Guys like Chambliss, guys like Downey, the 30 of Miller, Devantier, they might really consider coming down a bit earlier than you probably would.
Here comes the 77 to the inside of the 48. This is a battle for second place, and he's through and completes it. And this 77, if I recall correctly, was this the site of his first ever Outsiders Racing League win?
I wouldn't know off the top of my head, but it does kind of sound familiar. I can try to look right now, but he's definitely been fast here in the past, and he's showing it right now. He's a part-time driver this year, and I'm trying to look at the points. He's a part-time driver, but he's just barely out of the points right now for a chase spot. He's only about 20-something points back, and he hasn't even ran the full race. So if he could run a full-time season, he'd definitely be a championship competitor.
It's pretty amazing. He has had a lot of success this season in general, and in past seasons as well. And last time by, he was 0.2 quicker than even the race leader Stravato. We'll see if that number changes. Jeff Wright is glued to the back bumper, now sweeps to the left, across the line. 53.2 for Jeff Wright, 53.1 for Cabot, but Cabot backs out to tuck back in line. Not worth trying to hang on to that on the outside.
Yeah, it's really vital to be able to get down to that bottom line. If you have someone with a run on you in the turns 1 or 3, you really just want to let them by. You don't want to wear your tires out too much running that top line for too much. That's why I think a lot of the guys outside that top 5 right now aren't able to get back up to these guys because they were battling for a lap or 2 on the outside line, just really 2 by 2 in a pack there, and it really hurt their tires.
Top spot, AJ Stravato leads the way now. Last time by, he was the quickest driver in the field. Now, can he run away? How much does the draft keep those trailing drivers tucked in, or is it really negligible considering you lose all that ground you build on the corners?
It makes a big difference because, in my opinion, you really need that draft to stay with the leader. We saw it last week at Chicagoland. If the leader gets out of that draft, it's pretty much game over for everyone behind him. So it's really key for the 48 to stay with Stravato here, not let him get away. Got to do his best in the corners to maximize his exits to get a better run with that draft down these straightaways. That's why Stravato's trying to break the draft down these straightaways. Let them go to the bottom. They're trying to break the draft a little bit, kind of minimize the run that Jeff Wright has on him.
Here comes Alex Bell on Zach Halpern. He stays in line and pokes out at the last minute. Try to get overlap. Halpern drives off into the corner just a hair deeper and will maintain that position over the 15.
Whoa, Bell's sideways. He's able to save it. Here comes Turner to the inside. Bell's trying to drive really hard to get the positions, but he's costing himself a lot of time right now.
Yeah, you can burn off those right rear tires pretty easily if you overdrive. And we're only a couple laps away from a potential pit stop sequence. Lakatos chases Turner down, jukes back to the right. And Turner fills that gap again, so Kyle's off the back out. Give that another go.
We're starting to see a lot more packs for him. The top 5 pretty much on their own. Brandon Bowers starting to wear stuff off, dropping back to that second pack as we speak. Then that second pack, Zach Floyd, Angelo Horonis, kind of away from those guys, and Halpern leads the main line. And then the third pack there, led by Jonathan Hernandez in the 13th position, with pretty much the rest of the pack behind him.
Stravato out front right now continues to try to drive away. It was about 100 faster than Jeff Wright last time by. If you could stay out front and utilize a little bit longer, what do you recommend here? I mean, I think the struggle for me with pulling an overcut strategy is if you lose that track position, Connor, that's going to hurt you. But the tire wear is also significant. We're 3 seconds off pace. So what do? Do you come in early and get fresher tires, or do you stay out later and use those good tires later in the run? What's the call?
I think an undercut's the most risky, obviously, out of the whole thing. Bell got really sideways. Bell almost hit the wall at a turn 2. Hutton had to avoid him. Actually, that was Lakatos, excuse me. But I think an overcut can work. You have to execute it right, though. If you're going to do an overcut by a number of laps, you have to be able to get through the field. You have to be able to make passes at the right times. You can't get held behind drivers at any point. You have to go from the very second you get out of the pit road. I've seen it work before. It has. I think I've made it work before, but you have to know how to make the right moves at the right time to get your track position back.
Busy moment on turn 2, as you mentioned. Lakatos sliding up all the way to the wall, and in the 88 of Hutton kind of proactively dove out of the way. And did a good job there, but it stacked up behind 24 Bailey Turner.
I also wouldn't be surprised if a lot of drivers just completely stretch their fuel all the way, do an even bigger overcut, because kind of surprised, a little bit surprised. Ooh, the 48 had a big moment. Kind of surprised we haven't seen anyone even do a bigger undercut, which it leads me to believe that they don't want to be out there on old tires. They don't want to risk ailing, dropping through the field again or something like that. I think they just want to run it at least to the midpoint of their stint or just to the very end.
Working lap number 21 is 70. If you're watching on the East Coast, it's about 10:27 p.m. We've got 43 minutes of racing remaining if it goes green. Again, a relatively short race by ORL standards, and AJ Stravato would like it to end now. He's leading by 0.7 of a second and continues to drive away the clean air advantage, helping him tremendously as he tries to scoot away from the rest of the field. Zach Halpern and Bailey Turner, they're side by side. These guys have had a little bit of contact earlier in the night.
Yeah, they've been racing very hard, just really hard to make that pass on the inside work. Once again, if you don't have the left front, at least you don't have your right front in front of the 26's left front there, you're not going to be able to make that pass. Going to get to his left rear side draft, and maybe the 15 going to help him out a little bit, push him down the straightaway, going to give the 24 a real good shot of getting that 8th position.
Give him a little bit of a boost off into turn 3. Halpern hangs on, but doesn't quite have the grip in that outside lane. He's still hanging on that quarter panel.
Yeah, that's how important it is to pinch like that. You're able to pinch the guy down. He can't get out of a corner like he wants to, and he's going to get the run down the front straight again here. I don't think he's going to be able to clear the 24, but he's going to get the positioning advantage back on him. We'll see if the 15 goes for 3 wide. I think he's just going to really try to get the 24 back in front of him. Someone in the way back just came down to pit road, and that would be Austin. See who that was. Austin Parpay.
Yeah, so he's gone down. Meanwhile, Adam Cabot has gone to 2nd place. So pit stops beginning, and if you wanted to split it into 3, you're looking at a pretty good time to start doing that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing the 33 do it right now. He also might go a bit longer. He's got the big advantage, and that's how much tire saving matters. He saved his tire, sat behind the 48, letting the 48 kind of wear stuff off a little bit, and look at the gap he's gained. Almost around a second in front of Adam Cabot, who actually just did take that 2nd position away from Jeff Wright. So 77, 2 drivers who are really great at tire saving coming up to the front at the very end of this run. They're going to stay out one more lap. We'll see if anyone else comes down the pit road, especially guys in that 2nd pack who might want to undercut here.
Looking, and I don't think we have any takers on this particular lap, which is sort of surprising to me.
Got one more. I think that's Ben Laughter. Ooh, he really slid in there. I think he might have made it, though. So only 2 drivers so far. Austin Parpay coming out right with the leaders, which may or may not help him having draft out those leaders, but he's also going to have to try really hard to pass them cleanly.
Yeah, well, the lap time difference right now is still hovering about 2.5, 3 seconds difference between old and new tires. So Parpay shouldn't have too much issue. The problem is no one's going to cut him a break and give him the bottom when he's a lap down. I mean, obviously the sequencing doesn't necessarily mean that he's earned his way to be a lap down, but it's just leaders aren't going to pull over for a lap car regardless how they got there. So that might make his life a little bit difficult. Here comes the leader, and so does the 77, and a whole bunch of drivers are all going to hit pit lane this time. Whoa, big moment for the 33.
He was able to get in. I think we kind of called it. That was the point, 23 or 24, where he wanted to split it evenly, and pretty much the majority of the field came in. The 20, the 31, Zach Floyd, Zach Halpern, Jeff Wright was the first one to stay out. So we'll see how that 1-lap overcut goes for him. A lot of other drivers who are staying out. Bailey Turner, Angelo Horonis also maybe going a little bit longer. But I feel like a lot of them are probably going to try to react.
And here's the difference between new and old tires. The 48 on the old tires, Parpay on the newer ones, worth about 2.5 to 3 seconds a lap. And it's going to be like a Formula 1 car versus a go-kart right here. Look at that. Just turns the car in and it just goes. The 48 had to move out of the way, and that cost him a bunch of time, almost gets in the fence in turn 3.
Yeah, that was really close. He's not going to probably like that happening. Here comes Ben Laughter trying to squeeze to the outside here as Wright's going to have no choice but to respond to everyone else pitting there. Horonis is going to stay out on the left. He'll get a lap lead here as Alex Bell and Casey Licata's 2 teammates pit together.
So Stravato leads the way off of pit lane, and by the looks of it, I think he's gotten away by enough, I think, to keep his lead, at least for now. Now, the question is, how will this cycle out for the 48 car of Jeff Wright? He is on pit lane now. And again, with that lap fresher tire, I'm not sure that I like the idea of giving up track position for only 1 lap better tires. If it was 4, 5, 6 laps, for sure. Not convinced that this is the call, but we'll see. Alex Bell misses the box, has to back up. That'll cost him about a half a second.
Yeah, it's going to cost him a lot of time. With how important being in the draft is, it's really going to hurt him. I'm kind of interested to see if the few drivers behind AJ Stravato here, Bryce Calusa, Brandon Bowers, Adam Cabot, if they can draft up to him together and get back up to the 33, it's going to be really important. They're going to have Wright with him. I think the 48 is going to be able to stay with these two guys, but they're going to have to really get going because if they can't get back to the 33 draft, it's going to be really tough to get back up to them.
Well, how do you lose ground if you're the leader? You know, you're just on cruise control from here on out for the rest of the night. There's not really a way you can lose this unless you completely beat up your equipment, which we saw the 33 never do in the first run. So I think Stravato's in a great position here. He's at the position of strength. I think what helps everybody else is a caution once this is all cycled through. I'm not going to say that that's likely tonight. I think if we get a caution, it's going to be for a collision between two competitors, we haven't really seen that other than maybe once or twice become even remotely possible.
And Bailey Turner just called. He's going to come to the pits this time. He's been leading. He overcut by about 3 laps, but he's going to end it there. So he's going to come down the pit road, cycling the lead to the 30. Jeremy Miller hasn't been up front a lot this season, still trying to squeak his way into the playoffs. He's 13th as it stands. Need that one more spot, and if he can maybe execute an overcut perfectly, he might have a shot.
Continuing to run out front. I'm just curious from this for a fuel run perspective to see how long people will go before they definitely need to come to pit lane. In case we were to get a caution a little bit later in the night, that could change how we kind of do our strategy. So 28 laps, that's longer than I thought they could go. We'll see if he comes in this time or goes another.
And this is how important it is to have a shortened fuel tank, because if this was 100% fuel tank, they might be able to do one stop with 70 laps. But because of a shortened fuel tank, around 80%, it throws a lot more strategy into these races, especially with the fuel. It makes your tire saving a little bit different because you can't run as long on a long run than you usually would with a full tank. A lot of variables come into play with the change that this series has.
So Miller stays out once more. He'll hit 28 laps complete. And meanwhile, keeping an eye on the lap times of AJ Stravato and Jeff Wright. AJ's last lap of 50.3 with a 48, a 50.4. So Jeff Wright, while he's working through or was working through some traffic, I don't know. I'm not quite sure that was the call for Jeff Wright to make. I think I would have rather come in a lap sooner than a lap later or match what the 33 did.
Yeah, I think matching would have been important, but there would have been a lot of congestion on pit road because all 33 almost make a mistake. If they're right next to each other coming into pit road, maybe they collide, who knows. But I think because he got caught out, he didn't react. He kind of panicked a little bit. He figured, I got to pit right now. But in my opinion, he probably should have just rode it out a few more laps, got a bigger tire advantage, and maybe he would have been in a better spot. But he kind of panicked a little bit in that situation.
Angelo Ronas back here in 13th place with Alex Bell behind him. Jonathan Hernandez, Tim Downey Jr. poking the nose out, the green Camry in the background. Ronas also a driver that's sort of not had a lot of forward momentum so far today. And he'll cycle out to be basically where he started.
He made his way up to the front, and we'll see if the strategy works. You never really know. The overcut could work. It's worked before. It's just a really tough track to make it work at Indy here. So we'll see how any of that works. The fourth driver who is still not pit yet, Caleb Weekly, just came into pit road that time. That leaves only 3 drivers yet to pit: Jeremy Miller, Steve Turner, and David Mott Jr.
Again, Steve Turner and David Mott Jr. both Dash for Cash competitors. And to my understanding, I think they're pretty random numbers that are chosen for the Dash for Cash. Although we have not seen those Dash for Cash drivers be uber competitive today. Really just the 48 is the one that I think has the most realistic shot of winning that. Meanwhile, keeping an eye on Adam Cabot in that 77. He's been stuck behind Brandon Bowers. And I think that's going to hurt his progress if he's behind this Chevrolet. So he needs to get by the 31, and then I think we could see him run up past Bryce Calusa and maybe set sail and try to get AJ Stravato.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough to get the Stravato. They're all losing time. The 20, who was faster than him for a little bit, Calusa lost the 10th last time by. And we'll see this time by, he's a little bit faster, but just not the amount he needs. Bowers and Cabot lost time to the 33 as well. So these drivers got to get a bit organized, try to work something out, be able to get up to that 33 because it's looking very tough, even with 40 to go.
AJ Stravato leads the way as the field cycles back around, closing in on the halfway point here at Indianapolis. About 30 minutes to go once we get to that halfway point. And the race has been caution-free so far. No major dramas other than a couple small car collisions. And everyone that started this race is still running, and everyone that started this race is still on the lead lap.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get into much lap traffic unless some incident happens that doesn't bring out a yellow. Everyone's pretty orderly, pretty spread out at this point. You got Stravato out there, then about 4 cars, the second to fifth together. Zach Floyd kind of chill on his own. Halpern, Devantier, Horonis rounding out the top 10 right now. Then Bell's just lurking back there. He just let the 29 by. That was actually for 9th.
The field cycled through. We're going to do a Sim TV sound surge. We'll be back with you in a moment. Working our way towards the halfway point here at Indianapolis for the Outsider Racing League. I want to take your attention to the bottom of the screen. Lap time comparison. AJ Stravato's last lap, 3.5 tenths slower than Jeff Wright. And this time through, pretty similar. So that 1 lap tire difference might be starting to show itself here, Connor. Or is that just lap traffic that Stravato's dealing with?
I think it's a little bit of both. That 1 lap tire advantage is still going to make a difference at this point in the run, but what's really hurting is that Dave Ahmad Jr. on the way fresher tires is on similar pace with Stravato, not as much faster as you kind of expect. He's able to get back up the tail end of the lead lap. Last car running in 24th, as Austin Carpe actually retired, called it a day in 25th, but Ahmad Jr. is not really helping the 33. He was able to get his lap back, held him up for a lap or two, battling him, and now it's letting Jeff Wright really gain a lot of time. He's going to go for the second position on Bryce Calusa.
Down the inside, this is for second place. Jeff Wright's advantage right after the pit stop was only about a tenth a lap. It has now skyrocketed to several tenths a lap. That time, wow, that time was actually a little slower because of the traffic he was working through, but he continues his climb. Bowers now has dropped to 4th. Now wants 3rd place away from Calusa, who seems to be burning up his stuff. Adam Cabot, strangely enough, didn't really seem to have the pace that Jeff Wright did on this run, where last run they were pretty equal.
77 came in a little bit earlier, at least that lap earlier with Stravato, so maybe that comes into play as well. But that lap difference kind of surprising it's made that much of a difference, but a few tenths here and there definitely does make all the difference. One big difference right now is now the 4 has gotten away from Stravato. It's at a point where the 33 is going to get the perfect amount of draft. He's going to get that bit of slipstream, but at the same time, it's not going to impede his progress. So it's best case scenario for the 33. Well, the 48 of Jeff Wright, he's up to second, but he's got no one to help him.
Across the line for the 33 of AJ Stravato. 3.1 second lead. We'll see if it comes down. 52.9 for Stravato and a 52.77 for Jeff Wright. A tenth and a half gain for the 48 car that time. You had an interesting fact during the sound surge about Jeff Wright. If he were to win this race, Gunn, that puts him in a very exclusive club.
Yeah, if he's able to get that his next win, it would be win number 11. That would be tied for the most in the ORL's sort of short history. It'd be tied with me. It's a really fun few races that I've had. So obviously, also Adam Cabot part-time. He's at 7 wins. That would put him even closer to that mark as well. So a lot of really talented drivers up there. But Jeff J. Wright making known that he's one of the premier drivers in this series.
You got to be honest. I actually thought that drivers had won more than 11 races. So that actually is a testament to how competitive outside of Racing League really is, that we've only had the best drivers over the course of a couple of years win 11 races. There are some drivers in other series that'll win 11 in one season, which to me is not necessarily always an indicator of dominance and just overall skill. Sometimes it's an indicator of poor competition, so good to see that. Halpern and Alex Bell fighting for 8th place. It's been a while since the Sim Motorsports camp has been in victory lane in Outsider Racing League in the Camrys. Look at the 15. Big moment through the middle of turn 2. Had those tires cranked to the right trying to hang on to it.
Yeah, no one slides him more than the 15 of Alex Bell at times. It's been a while since he's gone to victory lane. I believe it was Dega. Trying to see how long, because I actually have those streaks out. It's been 59 races since Bell went to victory lane. I believe Case Lagat is still looking for his first ORL victory, but it's definitely been a while for the Symbols.
Keeping an eye on AJ Stravato and Jeff Wright. Wright still closing in at just under 2/10 a lap. And that time was 2.5 tenths, so the lead is now down to 2.8 seconds between the 33 and 48. But we are going to be having another pit stop here in, what, it's about 10 laps or so?
They're going to split it up evenly. It might be if they pit around 24, so it'd be around 6 to 8 laps when their final pit stop would be happening. So Wright's going to have to get on the gas here. He's going to really have to gain a lot of time, so he can maybe be able to pit on the same lap as Stravato and get that track position back and have a run at him again. But he's going to really have to be able to time his run perfectly in terms of getting into pit road perfectly, because he's going to have a lot of time to gain. I don't think he's going to gain it on this run.
Battle for 8th heating up. Now Bailey Turner has joined the club with the 26 and 15. So they run nose to tail. Look at the run the 15 car gets on the exit of turn 4. Can he translate that, parlay it into a pass down the front stretch? Gonna peek out to the left. Maybe try to get that nose on the quarter panel. Side draft there. Now the car will accelerate by the 26. And Bailey Turner going to sit in behind, turn in, and try to fit in the gap somewhere.
Bailey stayed out longer than a lot of these guys. He's got way fresher tires than both these drivers right now, but he's got nowhere to go. Doesn't want to force it 3 wide, but at the same time, he's got to get going, get all the time he can. He's going to build a run on the outside out of turn 2, 26, get sideways. Going to run up on them both here. He's going to go 3 wide. No, he's just going to shove the 15, hopefully clear of the 26.
Going to give him a push down the backstretch. Not quite enough to clear Zach Halpern. Still, oh, they're touched. Big hit for the 26. He slides way up the racetrack in turn number 3. He gathers it up, but the damage has been done. That was a pile drive into the left front fender of the 26.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about. I don't know if Bell was kind of distracted with the 24 on his bumper, but I don't know. It seemed like either he turned in too late or the 26 might have turned in a bit too early, kind of anticipated the 15 going to the bottom.
I wonder, was there a touch maybe from the back of the 24? No, there was some net code there for sure. But Halpern got a heck of a lick. That's going to be performance inhibiting damage, I think, on the left front of that car.
That was definitely netcode, but at the same time, I think they were going to hit anyways. That's big damage. The left front showing pretty harshly as Sam DeVentier coming from the 11th position. The 26 is going to drop through the order here without an amount of damage. I can't imagine he's too happy with Bells. He's going to drop another position down to the 9th position here, or maybe even the 10th position here with Eric Hutton passing him.
Moving our focus back to the front as soon as this pass is complete. Jeff Wright still whittling away little by little. Now the gap is 2.5. Now I wonder if Jeff Wright were to pull an undercut here by a couple laps, he could get that track position on AJ Stravato. But then you're going to be dealing with the 33 on offense. Would you rather be on offense or defense in the closing 20 laps at Indy? Connor, I mean, I don't know, it's kind of a mixed bag. I didn't think the 48 would have as much pace over Stravato as he does right now, but as I say that, it seems like his advantage is dwindling.
I really don't think Jeff has the opportunity to play offense, because if he tries some sort of overcut, he's going to be back about probably like 6 or 7 seconds, and I don't think he's going to gain enough time in the amount of laps we have left to get back to the 33. I think his only option is defense. I think I would rather be playing offense. I like passing cars here and there, but in terms of Jeff Wright's situation, he's got to be able to be prepared to maybe play some defense. You know how hard it is to pass on the bottom, but at the same time, we haven't seen any passes work on the top. So if he's just able to hold the inside line on his older tire, it's just going to be really hard for Stravato to get by him for that win. So I wouldn't be surprised if he pits maybe even this lap if he really wants to undercut his teammate here. He's going to have to be really prepared to protect his line hard.
Cam Devontier in the 99 getting cleared by Halpern, so Halpern will hang on to 11th. Ben Lafter going to hit pit lane. He was the early bird on the previous sequence. Now Bryce Calusa getting run down by Bowers. We could see a pass for third here shortly.
Jeremy Miller came into pit lane. He was one of those drivers who stretched his fuel pretty much all the way, and he pit this time, so that's a very short run for him. He was pretty far back there in the order, just really trying something to get track position, I suppose.
Closing in on the final 25 laps or so here in the next couple minutes. Across the line, and I'm noticing that the track is now covered in shade. But look at the track temp. 108 degrees is not anywhere near cool. That's pretty hot. That might be helping these tires along and getting hot and blistering.
And that's a big change from last week in Chicago, where it was pretty low temperatures, really cold racetrack last week that provided a bunch of pack racing for a long time there. But really more the same. It's kind of why we see a lot of single file and not as much pack racing, just because of how difficult it is to maneuver this track when it's all hot and slick and you're sliding all over the place. We've seen a bunch of drivers slide out of the groove a lot of times out of these corners, and that's probably the main reason why. I think also just another thing to note, right? He didn't pit last time. He's got to be ready to probably undercut his teammate here, because one lap's going to make all that difference back up, and Cabot's going to take that advantage. He's going to pit right now.
So Adam Cabot will come on down to pit lane. 25 laps to go from Indianapolis. We've been green for the entire race. Bryce Calusa, Brandon Bowers fight for third. Meanwhile, in the backdrop, the 88 of Hutton goes by Zach Floyd, and Floyd just gave up a spot to Bailey Turner, so the 42 is going the wrong direction. Meanwhile, here's Casey Lakatos and Zach Halpern, and here comes Ben Lafter on new tires. 3 wide between turns 1 and 2. They touch!
Oh, 64 is going to save it. 50 saves it. I think the 50 just wanted to get back to the bottom as quickly as possible. Just barely nicked that 64 machine. I don't think there's much damage to those cars. Good job for those drivers getting through all of that. But that was almost the wreck that a lot of drivers were looking for. It's going to see some strategies play out here. The 33 stays out. 48 stays out. And the next driver to come in, Brandon Bowers.
Bowers will peel off and head to pit lane. And again, this will be the driver's last pit stop unless we get a caution flag, and in which case I think we'll see a whole host of drivers hit pit lane. 42 as Zach Floyd comes down, so does the 99 as Sam Devontier. There's Tim Downey Jr. wowing it down in the background. But I think the big question is, what does Stravato and what does Jeff Wright do? And can Jeff Wright close that gap to the 33?
I'm going to be honest, I really think the 48 might have already wasted his opportunity to undercut, because so many drivers already pit that time by. I think the 33 is going to be alarmed and realize he has to pit this time. I think the 48, he could have pit the last 3 laps, but he hasn't. Calusa's coming down this time, he said over the radio. Now AJ said he's pitting over this time over the radio, so I think Wright just really missed a big opportunity.
Here comes Stravato, he's going to hit pit lane. So does the 48 car and the 20 of Bryce Calusa. So they will all hit pit lane together. Stravato locks it down, gets it woed up. And now can Jeff Wright close in on this pit stop sequence? That is a long distance to make up on the racetrack or in pit lane.
I think we're likely going to see either the 77 or maybe even the 31 might cycle out to the race lead, and not that big of a difference. It might be tough for the 33 to get by, so maybe Wright's in a good situation. Stravato's going to have to deal with the 77 and the 31 first, and that's going to let Jeff Wright get back to him potentially on the short run, which could really be key.
So the top 3 drivers all into pit lane together. About 20 minutes left in this race. Curious what's happening on Sim TV the next couple days. Well, tomorrow what do we got? 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern as the 33 leaves pit lane in the lead. SRO Esports action from Mount Panorama. GT3 and GT4 Racing will take on the FCP Euro GT World Challenge America Esports Championship from Bathurst. Monday, 3 wide returns. Tuesdays are off this week. Wednesday will be the DC Region SCCA iRacing League from Olton Park with GT4 TCRs, and that'll be a fun one. The return of Finney and DeCuna to SimTV with me. It'll be the first time we've been paired together in quite some time. And then that Saturday night, it'll be ORL. Same deal, Finney and producing. It'll be me also be on color commentary that evening. So that'll be fun to get kind of back into the groove of things. And then when we come back after Thanksgiving, that following Tuesday, I'm moving into my apartment with Tom O'Gorman, and we're going to set up Ultimate Sim TV Studio in my new Chicago apartment. So lots of exciting things coming our way. Hoping to use the winter break as an opportunity to sort of reset, redo a bunch of graphics, redo some efficiency things, all new thumbnails, basically do everything I wanted to do last year, but do it right this time because that'll be Tom's full-time job coming December. So looking forward to it. Lots up on the plate. And hopefully we'll get some consistency in the booth as the 26 car gets the fence at the exit of turn 4. But as I was saying, hoping to get a more consistent schedule and a just a better scheduling system for people, so I'm not PMing Connor 20 minutes before racing. Hey, Connor, I need you.
I'll confirm that has happened. Usually prepared, but
we're working on a lot of efficiency things, just to streamline stuff and new pricing structure, just a whole bunch of things next year to kind of hopefully ease things into a more professional atmosphere. I've noticed that this year, the past 3 months especially, it's been really hard to keep quality consistent because my mind's just not here right now. My mind is in getting set up in a new place and on my full-time job, which is also sort of esports related. So at some point, as we see the Ronis car hit pit lane, at some point in the next couple months, I'll be back with a focus on SimTV and getting it to run a lot more efficiently and more high quality. So going to be rocking and rolling here shortly. So 20 laps to go, next time by the line. And Casey Licata stays out on the racetrack, hoping for a yellow, but I'm not sure that that's likely.
A lot of other drivers hit pit lane. Bailey Turner was one of them. Zach Halpern, Jonathan Hernandez. Angel Horonis, also the other one. He slides through a stall by a mile. He's going to lose a lot of time doing that. Big blow for the 29, but while you're talking all that, it was the 77 Cabot did cycle out to the eventual lead, but the 33 was able to chase him back down for that race lead. And on that round of pit stops, the 48 did gain a decent amount of time. I think he might have gained around a second on the 33, but he's going to have to gain a lot more and potentially get into the wake of Stravato's car to have a shot at him with just 20 to go.
Well, he also needs to run him down now. You don't have any tire advantage to help you. You need to be faster than the 33. And as we saw in that opening run, I'm just not convinced that anyone's faster than AJ Stravato tonight. He's just been on it. And provided that things play out the way that we expect them to, I do think AJ Stravato will win this race. And I think coming into the night, I don't exactly know where the points are at, but I think coming into the night,
Stravato had a 1-point lead over Jeff. Coming tonight.
I'd like to get my... Where's my information? There's my information. Yeah. Did I tell you I was struggling with organization? All right. There we go. Okay, so next week we head to Phoenix. That'll be an interesting race. Then Charlotte, Talladega, Sonoma, Dover, Iowa, and Atlanta to finish out the year on January 16th. But 19 laps to go. How about that pass for a second? Jeff Wright goes through. Cabot goes back to third. Clifton Cockrell still has to make a pit stop, but with Stravato cycling to the top spot, 18 laps to go. Predictions. I mean, in my mind, AJ Stravato is the driver to beat, but is the 48 creeping up there?
He's creeping up there. He gained about 4/10, about 3/10 last time by. He got by to second. He's got clean air, clean track up to the 33. That time by, he lost a little bit of time because he was going by the 16 of Cockrell, but I think he's got a little bit of pace advantage on the short run. I think he can get to the 33, but catching him's one thing, passing him's another. I just don't think he's going to be able to make the pass, but you really never know what can happen.
Down the back straightaway now, working towards 15 laps to go here from Indianapolis. Kind of in the meat of the season right now. When you look at the schedule, we are on, round number 9 or something like that. We've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds to go. So past halfway, we're not quite to the nitty-gritty just yet. So I think drivers that have not won races yet are starting to maybe panic just a little bit. Drivers that have won a couple races or just looking to grow the column?
Yeah, it's kind of go time here in terms of points and trying to squeeze into that chase race. Coming in tonight, I think Zach Floyd had the last spot in the chase over Jeremy Miller, who is 17 points back, and it looks like Floyd's been having a decent day, and Miller's really been marred in the back all race. So it's going to be really tough for the guys who are outside the cut line who are able to get their way back in. It looks like the top 12 is pretty solidly, kind of locked in right now, but nothing's locked in until the last race.
Adam Cabot in third, feeling some pressure now for Bryce Calusa. I wonder if Cabot, given his stint length here, he's been out for 8 laps. Calusa has been out for 6, and you're seeing that advantage begin to grow deeper in the run. Now, this is interesting. It seems like the longer you run, Connor, the more significant those 1 or 2 lap tire differences get. They don't seem that big out of the gate, but give them 10 laps, and even a 1 or 2 lap difference is enough to make a pass easy.
It just really matters because your center corner speed is just way bigger. You're able to carry that run onto the straightaway. That's where it really matters. You get the run onto the straightaway because of how much faster you are in the corners. Just carries around the whole entire track with just having that little tire advantage. So it was pretty big for these guys to get that leg up on Cabot. Cabot tried something to get to the lead. It just hasn't worked out that well. He's really trying to play defense right now, although the 20 hasn't wanted to make a pass just yet. He's got a big run on him here. And meanwhile, the 48 still stalking that 33 Stravato, gained 2/10 last time by.
Yeah, 1 second back is the smallest that has been really since the early going in this race. As we continue to watch the battle for third, we're going to jump up the road to follow the one for the lead as it does start to dwindle. Here's a look at the delta last time by, right 2/10 quicker. 15 laps to go across the bricks this time. And for those, they call this place the Brick Yard. And I always thought they called it the Brick Yard because it, it was the yard of bricks, right? When I thought yard, they meant like a backyard, like all of it was bricks. Well, they meant a yard of bricks because it's literally a yard. It's 3 feet of bricks. So I did not know that until I went there in September or October, and I was blown away.
All right, they're almost going 4 wide into turn 1 there.
Where are they going 4 wide at?
Turner, Steve Turner, Sam Devantier. They were all going for 1 spot on the track. I don't know how that even worked.
Hold on, we got to go back and check this out.
Goodness. I don't know.
Man, you were not kidding.
Almost 4 wide. I think Bailey Turner, he tried to go 3 wide, but the 99 wasn't letting him go so easily. That could have been the wreck that a lot of these guys needed. Look at this.
That is wild. Well, they made it work. All the while, Cabot and Calusa still remain nose to tail. Jeff Wright did reel in Stravato slightly that lap, but the gap remains at 1 second. Where does that aerodynamic push begin to affect you? Is it within a second, or is it a little bit closer before you feel that aero push?
I think it's around 8/10, sort of right there. Around the 1 second or better difference, that's really when the car, it's just really helping you at that point. It's keeping you with the driver in front, but once you get around 8/10 or lower than that, that's when it really starts to affect the car. Whether it makes it a bit tighter or a bit looser, it could do either one sometimes. I think right now it's making the 48 a bit looser through the corners. He's really having to wheel that thing. If you get near that wake a bit too much, it just really unsettles the car. You have to change your whole driving style just because of how much closer you're getting to the guy. You have to be prepared to hit that sort of wall of air that these guys take. And look at the 33. He's finally starting to break the draft.
Well, we all saw the 31 or the 20 car. One of them step out big time in turn number 4. Managed to hang on to it and catch it. But for the lead, 9/10 of a second, keeping an eye on the differential. That time through, Wright was a 10th and a 3rd quicker. And he just continues to reel in. Now it's 7/10 of a second as they head down the straightaway. Next time by, 12 laps to go. There's enough time to get there if he keeps running at that pace. But again, I think it's diminishing returns. The closer you get, the worse that aero push effect is going to be on the nose of that 48.
And I think he's definitely pushing his tires harder than the 33 as I think Stravato knows he had that gap to work with, and he's been using it to his advantage. And now that the 48's starting to inch closer to him, 48 missed the bottom out of 4, but he sees the 48 inching closer to him. I think he knows the right time when to go, and I expect him to pull away once he knows when to finally push those tires.
It's a big gain regardless for the 48 that lap through. Gain another 10th. No, make that 2/10 as they head down into turn 1. And behind him, a 3-way fight forming. It's been like this for a couple laps now. 77, 20, and 31. Bauer's having a very good night tonight in that 31 car, and just on the tail end of the top 5.
I'm surprised that Calusa hasn't passed the 77. He was pushing him down the straightaway a lot of those times. I think he was actually doing that by design. Maybe if he pushed the 77, he'd be able to save those top two, but he wasn't able to make the move. I don't think it was the right decision. Maybe just saving his tires to get that third position from Cabot, but he's definitely lost any sort of shot at this win while the 48 continues to try to close in.
11 laps to go, counting them down for AJ Stravato. And for AJ, it's going to feel super long. For Jeff Wright, it's going to feel like this is only a lap. The pressure mounting for the 48. Both these drivers having pretty successful seasons. They're both trying to kind of one up the other. Saw the 33 a little loose at the exit of turn one. That seemed like a gain, but the gain last time for Jeff Wright was only 1/100th of a second, not a 1/10.5, 2/10 like we see the previous times around.
Loses a little bit of time out of two. Stravato gets ready. He's going to break that draft a little bit. 48's going to try to follow him. The 33 hit that curb we were talking about earlier in the turn when it really unsettled the car. The back ends of these cars just not settled at all on a long run. You got to really be careful pushing your right rear, which the 48 might be pushing as far close to that wall as he can, trying to do anything he can to get to that 33 for the race win, coming to 10 to go.
10 laps to go at Indianapolis might not seem like a long time, but it's 25 miles worth of racing. And Jeff Wright has 25 miles to go catch the 33, run him down, and pass him. A little bit of a loss that time for Jeff Wright. I wonder if that is the aero push beginning to affect that 48 car trailing the 33 in the corners.
He's in that 7 to 8/10 of a second range. Stravato's really been sliding that back end out of turn 1, but he's been getting really solid exits out of turn 2. And in reality, it's the exits out of 2 and 4 that matter the most to get that run down the long straightaway to kind of negate the draft that the 48 has down those straights. It's really big to set up for the right corners.
Jeff Wright realizing that this is going to start slipping away. But how do you gain? I mean, there's nothing you can really do. You can't charge off deeper into the corner. You're just going to compromise your exit. It's so hard to gain time here. It's just about inches. When people ask, if they don't understand oval racing, they ask, well, how can he go faster than the other driver? It's really hard, and I'm not sure that the drivers even really know sometimes. They're just doing everything they can to smooth out inputs, to drive in a little bit harder without compromising the exit. It's fractions of an inch that we're talking about that differentiate lap times here at Indianapolis, especially with how line sensitive this place is. And Jeff Wright, I guarantee you, is exploring every inch of this racetrack. So is the 77 of Cabot. Big slide at the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, you have to take these. It's not one lap at a time. It's one corner at a time, one little turn at a time. Calusa's finally going to get that third position away from the 77. But you got to take it one corner at a time, especially at a track like Indianapolis. You can't be focusing on laps. You have to focus on getting that left front, your left side tires under that white line. Jeff Wright not able to do that, starting to lose time. But you have to be so precise. Like you said, it comes down to inches, centimeters, whatever shorter than that. It just takes the absolute focus, as much focus as you can, to get the perfect line that you need to get to, or else you're not going to gain enough time. You have to be precise with every single move you do. Even down the straightaways, you have to be precise, be able to follow the 33's draft when he tries to break it. It just comes down to so many numbers and, you know, technical things that it's almost hard to really explain, but it just takes so much time and sweat and all that, all just sorts of preparation to be able to do what you can.
Looking again, a loss for Jeff Wright, a 10th. Again, minus .116. That is a loss for the 48. And they'll be coming to 7 laps to go, about 6.5 minutes worth of racing remaining here at Indianapolis. This is a track that was designed in the early 1900s, originally paved with, well, actually, the bricks were actually the second thing that the track was paved with. I think originally it was some other kind of early, not concrete, some kind of early pavement sort of deal, some kind of stonework. But they realized pretty quickly that that wasn't going to work, so they changed it to bricks. And it remained that way for a little while until better paving techniques were created. And there is still 3 feet, a yard of bricks at the start-finish line to commemorate the original construction of this racetrack. It's a beautiful place, very famous place, of course, the Indy 500 every year. But this is a track in the modern era. It was never really designed with stock cars in mind, and especially now in the 2020 age, cars really don't fit this place all that well. So you have to figure out how to drive around the inabilities of the race car.
And that's sort of a reason why they aren't going to the oval on the NASCAR side anymore, just because a lot of it came down to just they couldn't get a tire that worked with the track. You saw a lot of tire blowouts, especially it was a 2008 year where a bunch of drivers were blowing tires. That's really when the the decline of interest in the
Yes.
stock car race here sort of started, and it kind of accumulated them going to the road course now. But it really doesn't matter. Still a very special place in everyone's hearts. Obviously, Chase Briscoe won on the road course in Xfinity this year. It was still very special to him. Still kiss those bricks. Doesn't matter what configuration it is. Indy is in. You're going to want to win here.
Right, and to me, the heritage idea was always sort of silly to me. I mean, like, we had not been going to the Oval here in stock cars for very long. It's not like it's this long-held tradition. We've been going there since, like, 1994 or 3 or something like that. It's not, 1995, right? One of those years.
94, yes.
94. It's not like it's a long-held tradition, and honestly, the road course is spectacular. And everything I've seen on it this year has been really, really good, so I have hope for it. And it's hard to put on a bad race on a road course with stock cars. That's true. We actually re-raced the road course at the less ideal configuration, which is here in iRacing, with this lead, and it was spectacular. So I'm excited for the road course for next year, as well as for COTA and all the other road courses that are getting added. I think it's going to be an absolute blast. And also Road America. That's just up the road for me now.
It was always a great show. Especially earlier in the season, this league was here, and it was absolutely amazing show. I think it was Cabot who took the checkered flag in that one, but obviously, I think it was Bailey Turner who won on the road course here a few seasons ago. Yes. Bryce Kaluta the past season. Oh, Jeff Wright pushing the car as much as he can, but definitely a special track. I wish the new configuration was on iRacing. That's just not the case, but even then, in its past state, it was a pretty darn good show. As we're starting to see that 48, it seems like he gains 2/10, he loses 2/10. It's just not consistent with it. But that time by, he might have at least stayed even with him, trying to see. He just barely gained.
Yeah,
he's gained.
He did gain, but it was just a little bit. And you also just mentioned the Road America race. Road America is a racetrack that I believe is one of the greatest road courses in the country. I put it right up there with Watkins Glen. And considering that everyone knows how much I love Watkins Glen, Road America, when I visited this year, was everything I thought and better. Also, to your point on Indianapolis, I had heard that iRacing went to go scan Indianapolis again this year to rescan it and redo it, but the pandemic sort of put wrenches in those plans. So I do think that we'll see it probably in the next year and a half or so. If everything gets back on track, I don't know if that'll be the case or not. Meanwhile, 4 laps to go, make it 3 this time by, and Wright is gaining, but it's not a ton, and he needs to gain a little bit more.
Kaluta just had a big moment out of 4. He's going to get swallowed up here by the 77. Look at Cabot kind of swerved to the inside, goes back to the outside. Big moment there. Wright really pushing that right rear tire. He's oh so close. He's finally gotten even closer than that wake, of half a second gap now. Look how hard he's pushing at it too. Just doesn't have the grip to do it. Absolutely sliding as much as he can.
Cabot goes through to third. Kaluta tries to draft back up to him. 3.5 tenths of a second between the leaders, though, as we watch Brandon Bowers catch the 20. They're going to race off into turn number 3. But I'm going to focus us back up front because Jeff Wright, he might be breaking the bubble. He's in the fence in turn 4.
He hit it pretty good there. I don't know how much it's going to hurt. Doesn't seem like the damage is too bad, but it's really going to hurt him. He lost a lot of time there. He was finally in a situation where he might have had a legit shot. Stravato going to break the draft here, and now he probably lost 2 to 3 tenths, and it's going to be very difficult to gain that back in 2 laps.
Super difficult. 5 miles remaining here at Indianapolis. Meanwhile, behind them for fourth, Kaluta and Bowers trading spots. Lots of rubber buildup on the nose of these cars. They've been going at it with the nose to the wind all night long. Kaluta on the outside, Bowers on the inside. Drag racing for fourth place through turn number 2. And Cabot trying to drive away right now in third as these guys are neck and neck.
That's a big moment for the 20s. He's going to lose a few points here and there. He was going to get third. He might not even get that 4th position. Bowers has been really good on a long run since that first hit. The 40 is going to push hard out of 3. He's about to hit the wall again. He hit it big that time.
Just caught the end of it, but that's pretty much it for Jeff Wright's chances of winning this race, is my understanding. Meanwhile, for fourth, Bowers and Kaluta still going at it. This is the race we're watching as they come out of turn number 4. White flag in the air for AJ Stravato. And 2.5 miles around Indianapolis. He has been the dominant force this race. Started in 4th spot, drove up to the front, and he has since led 51 of the 69 laps that we've completed. If he can finish out this one, he'll win this race.
Zach Floyd had wrecked out of turn 1. He was driving in the 14th position. He wrecked, but he alt-F forward, so it's not going to be a yellow. We stay green, obviously, and just a great show of performance from Stravato. He was able to save his tires on that first run, able to get out of that lead draft here to get that easy run to the finish here. It's a battle for 4th still going hard.
Bowers going at it with Kaluta still. Oh, the 31, big slide there. for AJ Stravato at a time when he could not find any luck. Now it seems like he's going to find a new shelf for all the trophies he's collecting. AJ Stravato goes to victory lane at Indianapolis. Jeff Wright in second place. Adam Cabot, Bryce Calusa to the line. Bowers, fourth. Calusa fourth. Bowers fifth by a tenth of a second. And Alex Bell, Angelo Ronas, they'll be coming to the line nose to tail as well. There's the 99. Sam Devontier, he'll be in 10th. But AJ Stravato gets it done. What a drive today. Just got out front, never looked back, and he really didn't have to.
Sort of similar to how Jeff Wright drove last week. He was able to get out in front, never looked back, and similar after a really bad week where Stravato lost his whole points lead, he was able to gain a bit of it back and a bit then some. Big win for him, get back on track.
He was. Just look at your race results. Stravato gets it done. Jeff Wright unable to claim the Dash for Cash prize here tonight. Cabot, third place. Calusa, fourth. Bowers, Turner, Hutton, Alex Bell grabs the top 10. Angelo Ronas, Sam Devontier, and the number 99 finishes in 10th. Then Lacatus, Hernandez, Turner, Halpern, Chambliss, the rest of the top 15. Tim Downey Jr., that's a disappointing day for the 25 Downey Enterprises car, and the rest of the field there as well. Zach Floyd with that incident jumps off the racetrack, finishes in 23rd. But AJ Stravato gets it done in Indianapolis, and he's going to burn it down right next to the bricks.
Oh yeah, better not burn down the bricks. You're gonna get
A virtual ticket?
You never know. Maybe a points penalty. You never know how harsh you're gonna be. No, he did kind of burn out over him.
Not quite sure that's the worst it could be, but Stravato celebrates another victory in his hands after dominating this one. He led 52 laps of the 70 tonight. We're going to talk to him here in just a few minutes. We'll talk with Stravato, Wright, and Cabot coming right up. Welcome back live to Sim TV, here now with our second place finisher, Jeff Wright. Tried everything he could, every trick in the book, every trick up the sleeve, but couldn't get it done tonight. Second place, 1.8 back from Stravato. Used up the right side of that car in the closing moments, Jeff. How frustrating is that, and how close were you to getting that 33 car?
Yeah, we were coming quick, and I thought I might have a shot to get around him. I knew it was going to be tough, though, once we got closer into the dirty air, and it seems like I stalled out at about 0.7 of a second was really all I could get. I think AJ slipped up a little bit off one corner, and then we were able to close to about 0.5 second, 0.4. But other than that, that's all I could get to. And then just driving as hard as I could, got the wall there with the right rear, and it was pretty much game over from that point. But big congrats to AJ. It was fun racing him early on. He's really good at these tracks, and I hear it's his birthday tomorrow. So how about that? Happy birthday, AJ. Got a win for SBR.
Awesome race, Jeff. Phoenix, Charlotte, Talladega coming up, and then we go to Sonoma, which I know you're looking forward to. We'll see you there. But Phoenix next week. We'll see you.
See ya. Thanks.
Move on now to Adam Cabot in the number 77, who brought it home in third place tonight. A valiant effort tonight, Adam, to run up front, starting in fifth. Led a couple laps, ended up finishing in third place ahead of Bryce Calusa, Brandon Bowers. Good fight there for the third spot towards the end. Managed to hold on to it, just not quite enough pace for those front two. Take us through your night.
Yeah, it really was a good battle there at the end. First of all, congrats to AJ. Cool to see him finally get that, I believe, his first win of the season, which he's certainly had the speed all year and is the points leader. So awesome to see a fellow teammate get the win. Sad Boys 1, 2, 3 with Jeff finishing second. But yeah, it took a little bit of strategy to get that third place spot there. Clean air was really important. So I unfortunately on the first pit stops, I had so much rear brake dialed in the car that I tried braking really early for my pit stall, and it just the second I went to first gear, just started wheel hopping and slid through my stall, and that's where I lost most of my time to Jeff and AJ. So that's why I tried pitting a little bit early on that second stop, and got ahead of AJ for a little bit, and he pretty much just easily blew by me. I thought that with only a couple lap older tires, thought maybe he'd be able to hold him off a little bit, or at least stay within distance and catch a caution. But yeah, unfortunately, I really figured out how to drive the track with about 8 laps to go, which was too little, too late. But yeah, overall solid finish.
Well, it might be a part-time driver, but it's a full-time talent behind the wheel of the 77. Adam, we'll see you next time. Congratulations on a P3.
All right, thanks, Kyle.
Move on now to our race winner, AJ Stravato, who gets it done. Win number 4 in the series, 5th on the list of all-time winners here in ORL. Thanks to Connor for pulling up that stat. AJ, for the longest time, it just seemed like a struggle to find any luck, to find any consistency. Switched numbers around a couple times, ended up all of a sudden finding something magical. Went out there and just started crushing it, win after win after win. Congratulations on a win here in Indianapolis. It wasn't even really close tonight.
I wouldn't say that, man. Jeff ran me down pretty good. I was playing the conservative game a little too hard right there. And then once Jeff caught my draft, it was just controlling the race from there and just hitting my marks, which Jeff is a really fast guy, and he's a good friend of mine and one of my teammates. But, yeah, just goes to show practice and hard work pays off. I had to thank Connor, honestly. Having him as my teammate for a while definitely helped me out get some speed because, for a while I had speed. I just couldn't put an entire race together. But when you have fast guys around you and you kind of work with them and learn what they're doing, you pick up on things. And past year, we've really done that. So I'm really happy to bring home a win and go from there. Yeah.
Lots of good racetracks coming up for you, AJ. And also, I hear it's your birthday tomorrow. So happy early birthday, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Just want to give a shout out to my teammates at Sad Boys Racing, all of my sponsors from TI Racing, Grublets on Ice, Asheville Rooftop Barstools, and all those guys that make it happen. Really appreciate them. Chris Lewis, they helped me out a lot with sponsorship. Never would have thought I said that about a year ago, but it's a testament to hard work.
Super hard work and super hard fought win. AJ Stravato gets it done. 33 in victory lane. AJ, we'll see you next week.
Thank you, brother.
Well, Connor, that's going to wrap things up here at Indianapolis. Reading the chat post-race, all the drivers were thrilled with how the cars drove, which surprises me because I thought everyone was going to hate tonight, given how tricky it was to get passes done. But drivers are happy. AJ Stravato's happy. We're pretty happy up here. More racing coming next week from Phoenix. Your final thoughts here in Indianapolis?
Sort of what we expected from this race. A lot of single file action, really packed up at the beginning, and once we got the green flag pit stop, spread out a little bit, and on top of it all, Stravato pretty much dominated. Just like last week with Jeff Wright at Chicago, he was able to get away from the rest of the pack. The draft didn't matter at the very end. Jeff Wright was able to get him back down this week, but just couldn't get there in time, hit the wall, and the 33 scored a very convincing win. It's surprising to me that's his first win of the season. He's been up front every single race he's been in, but somehow this is his first one of the season. I think he's definitely got a few more up his sleeve.
For sure. We'll see you from Phoenix, Arizona next Saturday night. Finney and Acuna and Kyle Heyer on the mic. We'll see you. Have a good night.